Welcome to the other 99 times Count Your Blessings. Our guest, Karen Duffy, better known as Duff, is a historical marker for one of the greatest periods in my life. Now, we're not going to dwell on the 80s reference other than to say it was an incredible time, especially for Karen, who for all intents and purposes was the reigning queen of music video television. Karen, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to call you Duff because that's how I know you, and I know that's how everyone knows you. It's a privilege to have you here. You take me back to such a great time.
That is one of the undiscovered joys that I have in my life, is the fact that every day someone comes up and says, I remember you on MTV. And I'm so grateful because I felt like my job on MTV, I felt like a monkey could do it because you were essentially announcing videos, but I really tried to bring something positive to my experience.
I appreciate the humility because no one could have done it like you did. And obviously I'm a fan, so let's go ahead and put that out there, full disclosure. But again, with the humility, I don't know if you quite understand how much you really were and still are a trailblazer. Not just for women in the industry, but just for women everywhere. Do you see yourself that way? Do you ever look in the mirror and be like, you know what, I did something really good in life?
Thank you. It's interesting because I felt like my message when I first got the job, because MTV was a new medium, was, hey, if I can do it, anybody can. All you need is to really hustle. And I was a recreational therapist. I worked in a nursing home, and my job was working with the Alzheimer's Day program. And I love the sense of meaning and purpose, and I loved my job. And my experience working with an audience of Alzheimer's patients who had a limited attention span taught me skills that were transferable to the MTV audience. I learned how to elocute, how to speak clearly, how to use my hands and move my body so people could pay attention to me. So it was funny. So all my experience of calling bingo at the nursing home, I'd be like, B9, yes, I hope your tumor's B9, Mrs. Sella.
You can learn something from everything that you do. You've shared some stories with me that I hope you can share with our viewers. We just talked about an amazing story with one and only MJ, Michael Jackson. Talk to me about that. It was awesome.
Well, it was funny when I first got my job at MTV, and literally I went from calling bingo at the nursing home on a Tuesday, and dressing in like frowsy substitute teacher separates at my nursing home, to wearing like the sartorial choices of the MTV style wardrobe. And the first MTV shift was to announce a Michael Jackson video. And so it was kind of amazing because it was prime time. And then the day after, they were like, my boss said, we need to take some photos. And I was like, well, what's up? And they're like, well, Michael Jackson was watching and he really liked your haircut. And so
words you don't think you're ever going to hear.
Which is so funny because I go to a barber shop in the West Village and my barber only has one eye. So what he lacks in stereoscopic vision, he gives me a good crookedy haircut. But it was funny because there was a video that Michael Jackson did with Lisa Marie, his wife, and he has my hair.
So this was not a joke. This really happened.
It did happen. It was very funny.
Duff, when you look at just media now, entertainment now, even music videos, do you marvel at the changes? And is there anything that you wish they would go back to?
I would say I marvel and I mourn. I feel like when things are not sacred to you, and I think even in a small way, like honoring your body, honoring what you consume, and whether that's eating junk food or eating healthy food, or consuming messages and films that are violent. So I feel that I wish there was I would hope that we're wise enough to choose what we can handle. And I know not my limits. And having a child, it's been interesting to kind of, teach him. And luckily, he's not as deeply engaged into technology as most teenagers. And that's been interesting.
That is not only interesting, but I think important. We are so distracted these days. And I say we, I have to include myself. I'm very tethered to my cell phone and iPads and even laptops while I'm in the office. Have we lost just that relatability and that humanity, in your opinion? And do you think that has a lot to do with the way media and entertainment has kind of just gone off a beaten path that we know? I shouldn't say it's not a bad thing, but the path that we remember.
Exactly. Well, what's interesting is that, technology and entertainment, they are engineered to be addictive. And so I believe that every time we look at our phone, which I believe is like 200 times a day, we get a hit of dopamine. Our body is giving us a little hit of dopamine saying, maybe this is good news. So I love that eternal optimism, but I dislike the fact that it is integrated with a device, and rather we can get that hit of dopamine maybe by sharing a bit of kindness or being grateful and expressing that, because you'll get a better hit of dopamine that will last longer and have more meaning.
What are you most grateful for in life right now, Doc?
I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my faith that gives me the strength to kind of face living with the certain challenges that all of us face. I'm grateful for the opportunity. At late in life, I became a mom. And
tell me about that. What is he like?
It is wonderful. He's a real sports, he's a hockey goalie. He's funny, and
they change your life, don't they? I joke so much about my daughter. She's 25 now, and I always say, she won't leave the house. I don't know. I feed her too much. I feed her too well. The house is too warm, but she won't get out. But I can't imagine my life without her. Before, I didn't know where I was. She grounded me, and she gives it meaning. Do you find that it's the same emotion with your son?
It was absolutely cataclysmic. I didn't expect this. I read a quote the other day that choosing to be a parent is making the choice to have your heart be external outside of your body. And I do believe that my heart is running around this 14-year-old smelly hockey goalie. Yeah.
And you embrace every minute of it.
Every moment.
Let's talk body image. It's a big issue. Probably has always been, but it's probably magnified now because of social media, Instagram, Snapchat, filters. Everyone wants to be in a selfie or take a picture. Did it bother us as much back then? I stop and think, was it that important to us for everything to just be so perfect? And if it's not perfect, to be so filtered?
It's really interesting. I just read a statistic that the average female has 13 negative thoughts about their appearance or their body image every day. And I just thought, that is 13 too many. Because when you disassociate yourself from perfection and understand people that we're seeing on television, that's not real. Having a son who's more untethered to a lot of what he looks like and what he wears. But I think for young women, it's so important that when I have an exchange with a young woman, I don't mention how pretty she is or what she looks like. I think it becomes an unbearable weight, and perfection is non-existent, and we have to really accept who we are.
It's such a big premise of this program, where we do tend to focus on that one thing, that one imperfection that we wish we could change, and ignore all the other really great things about our lives that make us who we are, that make us confident, that make us smart, that put us on the track to success. And I want to explore that a little bit more with you, because as you sit here exuding the confidence that we talk about and happy with the body image, it hasn't been easy for you. And it's a topic that you have shared many times. It's the topic of a new book. And we're going to take a quick break because I feel like we need to take a breath before we really dig deep and explore that. So we'll be right back. Karen Duffy and I will continue to talk. But when we return, the excruciating pain that she's been in for most of her life, what life has been like for Duff, and how she has been able to overcome. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to The Other 99 Times. We are speaking with writer, model, television personality, and actress Karen Duffy. Duffy, you are also a certified chaplain. You mentioned a couple of other jobs that you've had and that you still have. I don't know where you find the time, nor do I know where you did find the time to write this book, Backbone, Living with Chronic Pain Without Turning into One. We tend to look at people on the external, obviously. When I sit here and look at you, and when others look at you, they see that you exude the confidence, and you're obviously a beautiful woman, very smart, very accomplished. But what they don't know is that for most of your life, you are living, probably right now, with excruciating pain. Take us through that journey. Talk to us about the ailment and what it's like to live a day in the life of Duff.
Thank you. I always think about how Plato said, be kind, for everyone is facing a hard battle. And so I live with chronic pain because of a condition called sarcoidosis of the central nervous system. And so what happened is sarcoidosis turns the cells in your body, in any organ, almost into crystals. So they're no longer permeable. So they create these granulomas. And so I have a very large granuloma in my brain and central nervous system, in my spinal column, that's too large to operate. So what happened was, as this granuloma was growing, it crushed all the nerves in that part of my brain and body. So I'm on a lot of pain medication. I wear a pain patch. I have to rest a lot. But I think what's interesting is that there's pain that hurts you, and there's pain that changes you. And chronic pain changes you.
In what way?
Well, I think you have to learn to negotiate with it. It's interesting. There's a lot of, I would say, there's a lot of like warlike metaphors when you talk about an illness. We're going to fight this. I'm going to battle it. And I think I'm a lover, not a fighter. And so I try and be kind to myself. That's also being kind to others. I find that it can be very difficult. The pain that I'm in is now, it's called complex regional pain syndrome, which is also, I don't like this, it's branded as the suicide disease. And I think if anybody can rebrand this, I think we should turn to it in the hopeful.
You've already given it this ominous feeling. You don't even give the person the option to fight.
Exactly, and I just feel like it is diminishing to the patient and to the entire medical community to refer to this, any illness, as the suicide disease. But I think what they're trying to do is be dramatic to show that this is indeed, neuropathic pain is the most excruciating of all pain.
You document the journey that you are now on, that you've been on in this incredible new book. It's a Backbone, Living with Chronic Pain Without Turning into One, which is an amazing title. Did you write the book mostly because people don't get it? They don't understand it? Because if you can't see what's wrong with someone, people tend to be like, you look fine to me.
Yes, and I definitely wrote it because the amazing thing is 1 out of 5 Americans lives with chronic pain. So that's 113 million people live with chronic pain. Now, acute pain comes from the Latin acu, meaning point or sharp. So acute pain is something that usually it's a visible injury, like a broken leg or a wound. And acute pain lasts anywhere for about 3 months. And then chronic pain, and chronic coming from the Latin chronos, meaning time. So chronic is anywhere from 3 months to perpetuity. So I'm on my 2nd decade, and listen, there are good days and bad days, but I'm grateful for everyone, and I try and find meaning even on the days when I can't get out of bed.
What was your lowest day like? Take us to that part of your life and how that became a turning point for you.
Well, it's interesting. I have about 2 or 3 days a week where I really can't get out of bed. And so I take such strong medicine that it relieves the pain, but it also turns me into like Gomer Pyle in a gas leak. I'm just like, I don't want
You're
to,
numb.
I don't want, yes, I'm numb and I don't want to engage, turn off my cell phone, turn off my computer. And I really spend that time reading, in prayer. We all have to find meaning. And whether you live in chronic pain or you're overcoming an obstacle, it's so important to find something you love, something to do, and something to look forward to. So on my lowest days, I really think, okay, what do I love? What will I do when this pain flare ends?
Was it ever even an option to give up? Was there ever a time where you're like, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore?
I am tired, but I really pray for strength so I can be strong enough to deal with this. I don't know why, and so many of us are living with Parkinson's and MS and cancer and so many chronic issues. It's interesting, the word pain comes from the meaning, the Latin of pona, which means punishment or penalty. So living with chronic pain almost feels like you're serving a life sentence for a crime you didn't commit. So it is, there is a sense of maybe being penalized, but I really think that my gratitude for small things has been amplified.
You're 99. You have found your 99. You
I
have
did find-
angels that I would like to believe are part of your 99, which of course are your husband and your son, but someone we all know and love. You talk very fondly about George Clooney. What impact has he had in your life?
It's funny because, when I met George, it was before he became, George Clooney. Such a good guy, do so well, but also he does so much good. And, we have a thing, and I think maybe growing up Catholic, it's if you do something for someone else and then you brag about it, it doesn't count. So there's a humility. And
what does he do for you? What do your angels do for you to get you through those hard times?
Sense of humor, I think, keeping me laughing. He helped me in just unbelievable ways about find a way to keep working. And that was amazing. He's been so supportive. But also what I love, what he does for all of us, which is, speaking out on behalf of refugees and victims of war. I'm deeply grateful. And, he has a tequila company, and he takes all that money from the tequila company, spends it on a satellite, so monitoring areas of conflict.
These
so
are things we don't know.
Things we don't
that
know.
we should know, because again, we tend to look at what we see on the outside. Your son, does he understand just the extreme pain that you're in, what it does to you? And how do you guide him through that?
That was curious because he does witness these 3 days out of 7. And so when he was a baby, he made me a little Lego of like a crazy cave woman. And he was like, this is what you're like on these days. And he's like, are you having a cave woman day? But I believe that seeing my weakness and the fact that I'm not hiding it, that was one thing that took me a long time, Liz, was to, we try and diminish our weaknesses. And the thing is, my weaknesses are so visible. And I thought, maybe I could turn this into a strength by saying I'm suffering just like so many other people who live with chronic pain and have all these embarrassing indignities where you take steroids and you grow a mustache or you gain 30 pounds. And
I don't know when suffering became such a stigma. You talk about the 3 days where you're not just at your best, and I have a 10-day window, I call it, where you can kind of you can see the me devolve. But you gather yourself because you have to live, you have to get up, you have to go to work and make a life for yourself, and you kind of muddle through your struggles. And it's important for you to be here to tell this story, because I think so many people kind of hide away from the fact that they have a struggle.
Yes.
They're ashamed of it, and you don't need to be. We have 30 seconds left in this segment. How do you get people to understand that you don't have to fear what hurts you?
I believe that we can't control what happens. We can only control our response. And so we're all going to have pain and suffering and sadness. And we should expect that. It is expected that unexpected things can happen. But I think that we understand we can control our response. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, why me? It can be like, all right, this is probably going to happen. I'm going to build this into my life.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're definitely coming back with Duff. We're going to have some final words, some words of inspiration, some words of encouragement. So please come back with us. 2 minutes. Welcome back to the other 99 times Count Your Blessings. I've been having an amazing time sitting here with Duff, just going through her journey and finding inspiration in everything that you've been through and everything that you do for the community, for your family. What are your final words, Duff, for people that are going through something? It doesn't have to be excruciating pain, just something. What are your words of hope?
It's exactly what you just said, which is the title of your show and your book, is Counting Your Blessings. I think that that is the moment when we are facing a struggle, is to really step back. And it even helps, I just write down what I'm grateful for. The act of writing down 3 things that you're grateful for, immediately, like we have like a shift where all of our brain chemicals start firing because we remember what we're grateful for. And one of the things that I do is I write a thank you letter every day. Every day I find somebody I read about in the newspaper, or maybe it will be Adele, your receptionist, who will get mine. Somebody who has been a kindness. Yes. Our friend Steve in the studio who walked me over here. I find a moment to say thank you, Steve. Thank you, Adele. Thank you. And I find that the more gratitude you have in your life, the more you will find things to be thankful for.
It's a great pleasure. I want to make sure everybody know that the book is called Backbone, Living with Chronic Pain Without Turning Into One. It's an amazing read, and it's also very encouraging. And what we like to do is gift our guests with a copy of the book that inspired this, signed by the author Carlos Wallace, who's the creative consultant of the show. And I just always hope, like, when you read the pages, you continue to find inspiration.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for just being here, for being you, and for sharing a painful story, but finding the light in it and bringing us the hope. Thank you,
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Please join us next week for another amazing episode of The Other 99 Times Count Your Blessings. Until then, continue to be encouraged, continue to be inspired, and continue to find the good in your life. Believe me, it's worth it. Thank you so much.
Don't cut. Continue talking, please.
Great. Yeah. People still talking about the book.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.